panelists on the dais, Chairman CII, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, it gives me tremendous honor and pleasure to be here to address this august gathering on a subject which is so relevant, not just to the National Highways Authority of India, but to the entire nation. All eyes are focused today on infrastructure development because infrastructure, and particularly the highways, are so relevant to help India attain the level of progress, the level of economic growth, to support it, to bolster it, and to sustain it, that is so imperative for our national development. Highways, we all know, have always been critical for India's growth. In fact, a foreign writer once wrote in one of his dispatches for a foreign journal that he could work best on Indian roads. So he was asked why. So he said, because there are so many places where you get obstructed, the speed is so slow that my mind works best on Indian roads. But things have changed. We have evolved. There is a lot of action on Indian roads today. There is considerable traction. And at the cost of repeating, I want to once again repeat that all this highway development work that we are talking of today should have ideally been done about 40 or 50 years ago, in the early 60s, at best in the early 70s. So we are really trying to catch up with work which should have been done several decades ago. And today, increasingly, as we pass time, the complexities of infrastructure development in a nation with a burgeoning population, with an increasing demand for consumption, with a huge demand and imperative for economic growth, competition, things become more difficult and more complex. Highway development is imperative because it is important not just for economic growth for a country like India, which is a middle income economy, but it is imperative also from the point of view of agricultural growth. We are talking today of a unified agricultural market in which, through an electronic portal, we should be able to trade all commodities at the click of a button. So a product grown in Devas can be traded in Guntur and vice versa. But ultimately, as we know, it is the physical settlement and the physical delivery which is necessary. You can't just have trading done. It's not foreign exchange or a derivative. It is physical commodity. Agriculture is very much palpable and tangible, and therefore you have to physically transact that commodity and carry it across the road. So if the road is not good, your transactions will flop. Not just for agriculture, for social development, for equality, for empowerment, for women's empowerment, for children health. From every point of view, you require good highways, and today we are poised to be able to deliver a massive program across the length and breadth of this nation, which is going to give you much better highways in the days to come. Already, the National Highways Authority of India has about 250 ongoing projects all across the geography and terrain of India, from the Himalayas and Kashmir to Kanyakumari in the south, from Gujarat in the west to Orissa and Assam in the east. I'll just give you a few vignettes of the kind of work that has been happening. We have completed about 400 odd projects in the past, and last year alone to give you an indication of the kind of fillip that highway development has received, our spending on the highway sector overall in the year 15-16 was a growth of about 50% in terms of expenditure over the previous year. In 15-16, the overall construction cost and the expenditure of both the private and the public sector on highway development was about 10.5 billion US dollars, which was a significant increase over the 6.3 billion dollars spent in the year 14-15. This year, that is in 16-17, we expect to spend about 15 or 16 billion dollars, which will be a significant increase over the previous year. And this is testified by the fact that the sales of construction equipment has gone up tremendously from an overall level of something like 40,000 units of construction equipment sold in the year 2015. In the year 2016, the sales are expected to be about 50,000, which is a 25% increase. The previous year, again, there was a 25% increase. Cement sales have increased by about 5 to 8%, and the overall increase in the sales of consumption of bitumen has gone up by about 30% over the previous year. All these bear testimony to the fact that the construction sector, particularly the highways, are ramping ahead in terms of overall spend.